on Mind Blowin, on No One Can Do It Better in particular, that's got the piano on it. And I've always been intrigued that piano, for me, I always looked at as elegant and all this other stuff. But with rap, I think it works, the elegantness transfers so well.
Oh
And
yeah.
people like you that I think are the true masters of writing and like Mind Blowing, I just have always been amazed that the piano, which is, I think most people look at classical music or what have you, works so well with rap. So for you as a writer, what does piano do differently, or why does that appeal to you sonically?
I think it's the rhythms, right? It's the mind blowing. Songs like mind blowing. Let the bass go. They have patterns inside those rhythms that that fit me very well and remind me of where I could lay some Rakim kind of stuff inside, you know. But it's not the instrumentation. Like I like piano, but I like guitar riffs and but you're right. I'll follow the instrumentation. But Dre makes that. He's always had that piano, and he makes it sound this way or that way. It does this, and it makes the song. Like the guy's just really good with that particular instrument.
Yes. And also on Mind Blowing, I remember too, it really struck me because I always viewed rappers as super intelligent and just elevated intellectually. And you say on Mind Blowing that this is coming in with intellect and stuff. And of course, Poor Righteous Teachers had holy intellect. So it wasn't unusual for rappers to present themselves this way. But for you, um, did you notice that people looked at you for being super intelligent because of how you could write, or how was the perception of you versus what you put into your writing itself on an intellectual side?
Yeah, before I really started to do a whole lot of uh, interacting with people, the accident happened. And so, man, I never got a real understanding of how, like I never interacted very well with people because I was always off balance. Even if they felt a certain way, I felt a certain way, and it made the interaction feel weird to me. Like I was just in a strange space for a long time. So I don't know how to answer that question. I don't know. I know that people thought that I was good, um, and I rock with that. I don't know if they thought I was smart or whether I was a dumbass. But I know they thought that uh, I could work that thing.
Yeah, because on Lemonniers, it stays smooth like a prism. These are not normal things that most rappers were talking about. You said, like you said, maybe Rakim and a handful of others, but not many.
Yeah.
Um, that's very different type of imagery that was going on. And like Eazy-E had so much humor on your commercial with the commercial blues, like Michel'le's on there, but then it's like, oh, that's a gluteus maximus. So like cracking jokes. So why, as a writer, as a musician, and as a creative person, was it so important for all you guys that were perceived as gangsters, so tough, so rough, street reporters, all that, to instill that humor so much into the projects at the same time?
Just kids, bro. Just kids having fun, bro. That's all it was. That's all at its essence. That's all it was. And it was fun because we were making, think about it, we were making what you know now as what it is, you know. But we were just making that shit every day, 6, 7 hours a day, having the time of our lives as kids. Um, and it was glorious, you know. The money came. I was talking to the other guy, Galaxy Records came. Happening, and it went to shit. But that first 18 months, it's irreplaceable, those days and times. And Q was here on, speaking of those days and time, the Big Three is here on Saturday, July 1st. So I'm talking these folks into giving me something I can present to them on behalf of the city.
Oh,
Showing
wow.
them we appreciate him, and the things that he do and woo. Because I feel like folks need to see that. It's important. That's what we're doing. The other shit, we're not doing that anymore.
Oh,
I don't and that I co-sign this person. We're going this way, we're building upwards. We're gonna get this money, we're gonna build these businesses, we're gonna build these affordable communities, we're gonna gentrify our own shit. Okay. So it goes beautiful, but stays at home. We're gonna
that's
start we're gonna start investing in us. You know what I mean? We're gonna go back and start teaching these kids how to be entrepreneurs, even as kids, if they got it in, you know, and work with them and hold their hands and make it fun. Oh, well, I digress. We got a lot of work to do.
well, that's where the real power is, as you know.
Yeah.
That's where it is. Because when you can control your own stuff, you have ultimate true power.
Man, hold up.
Yep. And speaking of true power, one of the amazing things that I thought listening to all the stuff as I always do, but like let the bass go, you reference World One Pyramid, you reference parental discretion is advised. So when you were writing that stuff, were you doing that for your own amusement or were you doing that for people to catch it or like what was happening?
A little both. Yeah, a little both. For me, writing is always one thing that I love to do as a writer. And I got this from Dre. You will listen to a Dr. Dre beat for a year. And then one day, listening to that beat, you'll hear some shit and go, I fucking never heard that before. Do you hear that thing online? Never heard that. I noticed that really early. So I wrote Trying to Leave Eggs that people would find way down the road. And I can't remember what, but people have done it and found it and came back and said what you just said. Uh, to me, that's art, man. It makes it cool, makes it fun. It's artistic. So I did it for my own enjoyment, but also, trying to tie that album together.
Well, another tie in the No One Can Do It Better album is you sample on multiple songs Everlasting Bass, Let the Bass Go, and D.O.C. and the Doctor, Doc and the Doctor. So whether that was a Dre thing or a you thing, I wanted you to speak on the significance and because I love Everlasting Bass, Rodney and Joe Cooley, but for you, because you guys use it on multiple songs, why did you guys feel that was okay, and what did that bring extra to the album, do you think?
Oh, that's a Dr. Dre thing. You know, he did all the production on that record, and he took his time and did a really outstanding job. He put a lot of love into that record. And so everything you hear sonically is in him. And we didn't take a lot of time to do that record. If I had to say, straight work time, it was about maybe a couple weeks. You know, we had a day here, day there. You know, we did some songs. We did a Whirlwind Pyramid and Let the Bass Go. And Eazy's mother's garage almost a year before we did the record. And those two songs made it. And they were really good songs. We did that. Both of those are just samples and me rapping over them. You know what I mean? That's how easy it was. We could have made that kind of stuff back then, or at least Dre and I. We did that in Eazy's grandmother's, in Eazy's mother's house, man. Her garage. And that was the beginning of everything. That's when I did those songs. I went back home and Eazy, and they called me and said, "Yeah, come back." I'm back. I said, "Okay, I'm moving back." And the rest is history.
Yes, it is. And one of the other hallmarks that I think Ruthless doesn't get a lot of credit for, and you were involved in obviously a lot, if not most of this, is having the live musicians. And obviously, Beautiful but Deadly, you got Stand the Guitar Man on there, and you got drums being played by Yellow. You got different things going on throughout. No One Can Do It Better, and throughout the rest of the Ruthless Records releases that you worked on. So that being said, since so much of rap was computerized electronic, as a writer, as a musician, as a creative person, what did you get differently if you were able to feed off a Stand the Guitar Man in the studio, if you were able to feed off a Yellow playing actual drums on a song? How did that change or affect you or how you worked?
Well, when you working with Dre, the whole session is just like a vibe. If you're there watching him, work with the musicians and how he creates, it's really just all him, bro. Like there's a reason why, he is who he is. The guy really is fucking gifted. I watched him for a long time, and it looks, to the naked eye, it looks like he's just doing the same shit over and over again. Every time he makes a new beat, he punches the same buttons, and it looks like he's turning them the same way, and then the same sound comes out. But it truly is a gift, and so all I can say is sonically, I was blessed to work with the guy. Um, that's my story. I'm sticking to it.
It's a good story. Um, and tied into that though, with Dre, I was always intrigued as an artist uh, with the Doc and the Doctor, since Dre, Doc, calling him Dre, calling him Doc himself. Did you guys, did Easy, did any of you ever think like that might be strange or confusing or doubling up or, no?
Drain out, right? In our minds, you know, like separate from the NWA group, Trey and I were like Jazzy Jeff and the Fresh Prince. So rap, when we're making songs in that mold. So you'll hear me calling my DJ in some of the records. That's just because it's old East Coast hip hop, and that's the mode we're in.
Okay, gotcha. And then it seemed like you mentioned this on the formula never being regarded as a regular. So what, before even maybe even before Feel the Fresh Crew, but what made you understand that you needed to really stand out in a super way instead of trying to be your version of somebody else? Where did that come from, do you think, as a person?
Well, I tell folks all the time I'm an East Coast MC at heart. So when it was born and the guys were rapping in my head, I was battling against those guys. So in my mind, I'm from a borough, you know what I mean? And nobody else really exists right now. So the people in the city, I mean, I was doing it with them, but I never saw, I was never fighting or battling against them. I was just happy to be with, you know, uh, in a group of people that was doing this thing that we love. But from a competition perspective, I was battling against the guys on the East Coast, and that's what drove me to be different from anybody else. The guys that were here in Dallas didn't really sound like those guys. I wanted to be on that level, but different.
Yeah. It's always different when you're playing locally versus playing in the pros. It's a very different ball game.